Captain Jack Miller sat in his chair on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force ship Vindication. The ship hummed softly around him as it moved through space. He looked at the stars through the main view screen and sighed. Another quiet patrol day was ending. "Captain, incoming transmission," said Lieutenant Susan Kelly. Her fingers moved quickly over her console. "It's strange." Miller turned his chair toward her. "Strange how?" "It's not on any of our standard channels. The signal is weak and breaking up." Susan's forehead wrinkled as she concentrated. "I think it's a distress call." Miller stood up and walked to her station. "Can you clean it up?" "Working on it, sir." She adjusted settings and applied filters. Slowly the static cleared, revealing a voice speaking in halting, accented English. "Anyone listening? Nalari system under attack. Cities burning and please help us." Miller recognized the musical quality of the voice. "That's a Nalari transmission." The Nalari were one of the first alien species humans had met after developing faster-than-light travel. They were peaceful traders with blue skin and 4 arms. Their civilization was much older than humanity's, but they had welcomed Earth ships into their trading networks when many other species had kept their distance. "How far is the signal traveling?" Miller asked. Susan checked her readings. "Extremely far, sir. The Nalari system is 17 days away at top speed. This signal has been traveling for almost a month." Miller's stomach tightened. "Get me Admiral Powell, now." Within 20 minutes, Admiral Frank Powell's face appeared on the communication screen. His gray hair was messy and he looked like he had been sleeping. "This better be good, Miller," he said. "Sir, we've received a distress call from the Nalari. They're under attack." Powell's expression changed instantly. He sat up straight. "Play it." Miller nodded to Susan, who sent the cleaned-up transmission. "This is Elder Zareen of the Nalari Council. Our system is under attack by the Vex conglomerate. 3 planets have already fallen, millions dead. Our cities are burning. We have no military to defend ourselves. If anyone is listening, please. We need help." The message ended, dissolving back into static. Powell was silent for several seconds. The Vex, damn it. Everyone on the bridge knew about the Vex conglomerate. They were a species that had built an empire by conquering and enslaving others. Their ships were massive, their weapons powerful. They had never attacked human colonies, perhaps because humans settled on worlds too harsh for the Vex to bother with. "Sir, what do we do?" Miller asked. "I'm calling an emergency meeting of the Defense Council," Powell said. "Miller, bring the Vindication back to Earth immediately. You'll want to be there for this." 3 days later, Captain Miller stood in the large meeting room in Earth Defense Force headquarters. The 12 members of the Defense Council sat at a curved table at the front. Admiral Powell stood at a podium addressing them. "The Nalari helped humanity when we were new to the stars," Powell said. "They shared trade routes, introduced us to other species, and treated us fairly when others viewed us with suspicion." He displayed images of Nalari cities, tall, graceful buildings surrounded by gardens full of strange plants. Then he showed satellite images of those same cities burning, with large Vex ships hovering above them. "These images were captured by our long-range probes," Powell continued. "The situation is worse than we thought. The Vex have almost completely overtaken the Nalari system." Council member Helen Ward raised her hand. "Admiral, I sympathize with the Nalari, but what exactly are you suggesting? Humanity has avoided interstellar conflicts since we left Earth." "I'm suggesting we help them," Powell said simply. The room grew quiet. Council member George Rivera shook his head. "The Vex fleet outnumbers ours 3-1. Their ships are bigger with more advanced weapons. But we have advantages they don't know about." Miller spoke up. All eyes turned to him. He stepped forward. "The Vex and most other species evolved on worlds with lower gravity than Earth. Their bodies are adapted for those conditions. Humans are stronger, faster, and more durable than they expect." Powell nodded. "Captain Miller is right. They call us Deathworlders behind our backs. Earth tried to kill our ancestors every day. Extreme weather, dangerous predators, diseases, natural disasters. We survived all of it. And don't forget our ships, added Commander Amy Russell, who led the Special Operations Division. They're smaller but faster and more maneuverable than Vex vessels. Our crews train in high-gravity conditions that would crush most Vex soldiers. The council members looked at each other. Ward spoke again. Even if we have these advantages, we would be risking our entire fleet. If we lose, Earth would be defenseless. An older man at the end of the table cleared his throat. This was Martin Chen, the head of the council. The Nilari helped us when no one else would, he said quietly. They're asking for our help now. What kind of species would we be if we turned our backs on them? The room fell silent again. I call for a vote, Chen said. One by one, the council members voted. When they finished, the result was clear. Earth would respond to the Nilari distress. Admiral Powell looked at Miller. Captain, you'll lead the advance team. Prepare your ship and crew. Yes, sir, Miller said. Within 2 days, the Earth Defense Fleet gathered at the edge of the Sol system. 47 ships of various sizes formed up in attack formation. Miller stood on the bridge of the Vindication, now designated as a forward command ship. Lieutenant Kelly approached him. Message from all ships, sir. They're ready. Miller looked at the tactical display showing their fleet. It seemed small compared to what they would face. Sir, said Lieutenant Greg Martinez from the tactical station. I've been analyzing what we know about Vex battle tactics. They rely on overwhelming force. They expect their enemies to surrender quickly. We won't, Miller said firmly. He opened a channel to the crew. This is Captain Miller. In a few minutes, we'll jump to Nilari space. We're going to face an enemy that has conquered 17 species across the galaxy. They think they're invincible. Our job is to prove them wrong. Hio paused, looking around at his crew. The Nilari showed humanity kindness when we were alone among the stars. Today we show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens our friends. Prepare for jump. Admiral Powell's voice came through on the command channel. All ships, this is Admiral Powell. For many years, other species have called us Deathworlders. They meant it as an insult. Today, we make it our strength. Miller nodded to his navigation officer. Set course for the Nilari system. Maximum speed. The officer entered the coordinates. Course set, sir. Miller took a deep breath. Jump. The stars stretched and blurred as the fleet leaped into faster-than-light travel, carrying humanity to its first interstellar war. The fleet of Earthships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Nilari system. Captain Jack Miller stood on the bridge of the Vindication, looking at the display screen that showed what lay ahead. All ships, maintain radio silence, he ordered quietly. Passive scans only. Lieutenant Greg Martinez worked at the tactical station, gathering data without sending out signals that might alert the enemy to their presence. Sir, I'm detecting 23 Vex warships in orbit around the third planet, Martinez reported. That's the Nilari homeworld. Miller nodded. What are they doing? Bombing the surface, sir, methodical pattern. They're destroying cities one by one. Miller's jaw tightened. Any sign they've detected us? No, sir. Their sensors are sweeping, but they're not looking for our ship designs. They don't know we're here. The bridge was silent as everyone absorbed this information. They had an advantage, but it wouldn't last long. Admiral Powell's voice came through on the secure channel. Captain Miller, what's your assessment? The Vex are focused on the Nilari homeworld, Miller replied. They're not expecting company. We have surprise on our side, but not for long. Good. All ship captains, this is Admiral Powell. Form attack groups as planned. Remember your training. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. These bullies have no idea what they're in for. Miller turned to his crew. Battle stations, weapons officer, target the largest Vex ship. That's likely their command vessel. Lieutenant Eric. Daniels nodded at the weapons console. Target locked, sir. All ships report ready, Captain, Lieutenant Susan Kelly said from communications. Miller took a deep breath. Admiral Powell, Vindication is ready to lead the attack. Proceed, Captain, Powell replied. Good hunting. Miller stood up from his chair. All ships fire on my mark. He paused, looking at each member of his bridge crew. 3, 2, 1, fire! The Earth fleet unleashed its first barrage. Energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the unsuspecting Vex ships. 3 Vex warships exploded immediately, caught completely by surprise. The rest began to move, shields rising too late. Direct hits on all targets, Martinez reported. The Vex fleet is scrambling. They're trying to locate us, Kelly added. Their communications are chaotic. Press the advantage, Miller ordered. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Focus fire on their command vessel. The Earth ships moved with speed and precision that the Vex clearly weren't expecting. The human vessels were smaller but far more maneuverable, darting between the yang, larger Vex ships and hitting them from multiple angles. Sir, Commander Russell reports her boarding teams are ready, Kelly said. Miller nodded. Tell her to proceed. Across the battle, 5 small, dark transport ships detached from Earth vessels and raced toward the damaged Vex command ship. Inside one of them, Commander Amy Russell checked her weapons and addressed her team. Remember your training, she told the 20 soldiers with her. Vex are taller than us but slower. Their environment suits can't handle much damage. Aim for joint connections. The transport ships attach themselves to different parts of the massive Vex vessel. Russell's team cut through the hull using specialized tools designed for this purpose. When the metal gave way, they moved inside quickly, weapons ready. The corridors of the Vex ship were tall and wide, designed for beings nearly 9 feet tall. The human soldiers looked small in comparison, but they moved with deadly purpose. They encountered their first Vex guards at a junction. The aliens were tall, with gray skin and 4 eyes, wearing armored environment suits. They fired energy weapons at the humans, but Russell's team was faster. They spread out, using the oversized corridor for cover, and returned fire. The Vex soldiers fell quickly. Their movements were slow and clumsy compared to the humans, who were used to fighting in Earth's higher gravity. Move to the bridge, Russell ordered her team. Stay alert. Back on the Vindication, Miller watched the battle unfold. The Earth fleet had destroyed 5 Vex ships now, with minimal damage to their own vessels. The remaining Vex ships were trying to form a defensive pattern, but they were clearly surprised by the speed and firepower of the human attack. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Vex, Kelly reported. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Let's hear it, Miller said. A deep, rumbling voice filled the bridge. Unknown vessels, this is High Commander Draz of the Vex conglomerate. You are interfering in official Vex business. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Miller smiled slightly. Lieutenant Kelly, open a channel. Channel open, sir. Miller straightened his uniform. High Commander Draz, this is Captain Jack Miller of the Earth Defense Force. We are responding to a distress call from the Nalari. Your forces are attacking a peaceful civilization. We order you to withdraw from this system immediately. There was a pause before the reply came. Earth? The Deathworlder planet? The Vex commander sounded surprised. This is not your concern. The Nalari violated Vex trade agreements. They must be punished. The punishment seems excessive, Miller replied, coldly. We won't ask again. Withdraw your forces. You are making a grave mistake, Draz said. The Vex do not surrender. Our main fleet is already on its way. You cannot hope to. Miller cut the transmission with a gesture. Well, that confirms they've called for reinforcements. He turned to Martinez. How long do we have? Martinez consulted his instruments. Based on known Vex ship capabilities, I'd estimate their reinforcements are at least 12 hours away. Sir, Kelly interrupted. Commander, Russell reports her team has reached the bridge of the Vex command ship. On the Vex vessel, Russell and her soldiers burst onto the bridge. The Vex officers turned in surprise, reaching for weapons, but the humans were faster. Within moments, the bridge was secure. Vex command vessel captured, Russell reported over her communication link. We have access to their battle network. She moved to the main control console, which was designed for someone much taller. One of her team members, Lieutenant Ben Foster, began working on the alien computer system. Their security is good, but not good enough. Foster said after a few minutes. I'm in. We have access to their fleet communications, tactical data, and... He paused, eyes widening. Commander, I've found the coordinates of all Vex military installations, their entire defense network, Russell smiled. Download everything. Captain Miller needs to see this. Back on the Vindication, Miller received the data from Russell's team. He immediately forwarded it to Admiral Powell. This changes everything, Powell said when he saw the information. The Vex have never had their network compromised before. They don't know we have this data. What are your orders, Admiral? Miller asked. Powell's face was grim but determined. The Vex reinforcements are coming. We need to be ready. But now we also have an opportunity to end this conflict before it escalates further. He paused. It's time the Vex learned what happens when you attack friends of humanity. Miller nodded. Yes, sir. As Earth ships continued to engage the remaining Vex vessels above the Nalari homeworld, a new phase of the battle was about to begin. Admiral Powell studied the battle map on the bridge of his flagship, the Judgment. The holographic display showed the positions of all Earth ships and the remaining Vex vessels. Captain Miller stood beside him, watching as Powell considered their next move. The Vex reinforcements will arrive in 10 hours, Powell said. 35 more warships. If we stay here, we'll be outnumbered 3-1. Miller nodded. But now we have their military data. We know where they're coming from and where they're vulnerable. Powell's eyes narrowed as he made his decision. We're splitting the fleet. Captain Miller, you'll take 15 ships and continue the fight here at Nalari. Protect the planet and rescue as many civilians as possible. Yes, sir, Miller said. And the rest of the fleet? I'll lead 20 ships to intercept the Vex reinforcements before they arrive, Powell said. Commander Russell will take the remaining 12 ships on a special mission. He looked at Russell, who stood nearby. You're going straight to the Vex homeworld. Russell's eyes widened slightly, but she nodded. What are my objectives, sir? Hit their military command centers. Show them we can strike at their heart. Make them pull back their forces to defend their home. Miller looked at the map again. This is risky, Admiral. We're dividing our strength. It's the only way, Powell replied. If we just defend Nalari, we'll eventually lose. We need to take the fight to them. He straightened his uniform. You have your orders. Let's move. The Earth fleet separated into 3 groups. Miller watched as Powell's ships and Russell's team jumped away into faster-than-light travel. He turned to his bridge crew. All right, people, we have a planet to save. Lieutenant Kelly, establish communication with any Nalari survivors on the surface. Kelly worked at her station. I'm detecting several emergency signals, sir. Patching. Through now. A weak musical voice came through the speakers. This is Elder Zareen of the Central City Refuge. Is someone really there? Elder Zareen, this is Captain Jack Miller of the Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call, and we're here to help. There was a moment of silence, then what sounded like a sob. Earth? Humans came to help us? We thought no one would come. Miller's voice was firm. We're here, Elder. We're engaging the Vex fleet now. Where are your people? How can we help? There are refugee centers in the mountains, Zareen replied. The Vex can't use their heavy weapons there because of mineral deposits that interfere with their targeting systems. But food and medical supplies are running low. And the Vex send ground troops every day. Understood, we're sending help now. Miller turned to his officers. Prepare rescue teams. I want shuttles ready in 10 minutes. Lieutenant Susan Kelly would lead the first group to the surface. As she prepared to board her shuttle, Miller stopped her. Be careful down there, he said. The Vex might send more ground troops when they see our shuttles landing. Kelly checked her sidearm. We'll be ready, sir. 5 Earth shuttles descended toward the Nalari homeworld. They flew low over destroyed cities, the once beautiful buildings now smoking ruins. In the distance, mountains rose from the flat plains, their slopes covered with purple vegetation. Kelly's shuttle landed in a small clearing near one of the refugee centers. As the door opened, she got her first look at the Nalari in person. They were thin beings with blue skin and 4 arms. Their large eyes looked at the humans with a mixture of fear and hope. Elder Zareen stepped forward. She was older than the others, her skin a paler blue. "Lieutenant Kelly, I am Zareen. Thank you for coming." Kelly nodded respectfully. "We brought medical supplies and food, and we're here to help defend your people until the Vex are driven away." Zareen led Kelly into the refugee center, a series of caves dug into the mountainside. Hundreds of Nalari were crowded inside, many injured. "The Vex attacked without warning," Zareen explained. "They said we had violated trade agreements, but it wasn't true. They just wanted our resources." "How many of your people survived?" Kelly asked. Zareen's 4 hands twisted together in distress. "Perhaps 30% of our population. Millions are dead." Kelly put a hand on the elder's shoulder. "We'll make sure no more die." Above the planet, Captain Miller continued to engage the remaining Vex ships. The Earth vessels moved with precision, targeting the Vex ships' weak points. "Sir," Lieutenant Greg Martinez called from Tactical, 4 Vex ships are trying to break away. They're heading for the mountain regions." Miller's eyes narrowed. "They're going after the refugees, not on my watch. Pursuit course, maximum speed, all weapons ready." The Vindication and 3 other Earth ships raced after the fleeing Vex vessels. They caught up just as the Vex ships began to descend toward the mountains. "Fire everything we've got," Miller ordered. Earth weapons tore into the Vex ships. 2 exploded immediately. The 3rd lost control and crashed into an empty plane. The 4th managed to land, and Vex ground. Troops began to pour out. "Kelly, you have ground forces incoming," Miller warned over the communications link. "Understood, Captain," Kelly replied. "We're ready for them." On the surface, Kelly organized the human rescue teams and those Nalari who could fight. They set up defensive positions around the cave entrances. "The Vex are bigger than us," she told the Nalari fighters. "But they're slower, and they're not used to fighting in rough terrain. Use the rocks for cover." The Vex troops approached. Tall figures, in armored suits carrying energy weapons. There were about 50 of them, moving in formation across the rocky ground. "Wait for my signal," Kelly told her defenders. "Let them get closer." The Vex advanced, seemingly confident. They weren't used to resistance from the peaceful Nalari. "Now," Kelly shouted when the Vex were just 30 meters away. Humans and Nalari opened fire together. The front line of Vex soldiers fell immediately. The others scattered, looking for cover, but they moved awkwardly on the uneven ground. The humans, evolved on a high-gravity world with rough terrain, moved easily among the rocks, flanking the Vex position. Within minutes, the Vex attack had been repelled. The few surviving soldiers retreated to their damaged ship. "We did it," one of the Nalari fighters said in amazement. "We actually defeated them." Kelly nodded, checking her weapon. "This is just the beginning. But yes, we did." She contacted Miller. "Captain, we've secured the refugee center. The Vex ground attack has been repelled." "Good work, Lieutenant," Miller replied. "But stay alert. According to our intelligence, we have 8 hours before their reinforcements arrive." "What about Admiral Powell and Commander Russell?" Kelly asked. "They're on their missions," Miller said. "Now we have to do ours. Hold that position. Protect those people." Kelly looked at the grateful faces of the Nalari around her. "Don't worry, sir. We won't let them down." As night fell on the Nalari world, the battle continued in orbit. Miller's ships engaged in hit-and-run attacks against the remaining Vex vessels, keeping them away from the refugee centers. And somewhere in space, Admiral Powell's fleet raced to intercept the Vex reinforcements, while Commander Russell's ships approached the unsuspecting Vex homeworld. Commander Amy Russell stood on the bridge of her ship, the Defiant, as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 11 other Earth vessels emerged alongside hers. Through the viewscreen, she could see the Vex homeworld, a large planet with 3 moons and massive orbital stations circling it. "No one has ever attacked the Vex homeworld before," Lieutenant Ben Foster said quietly from his station. "They've never faced humans before," Russell replied. She turned to her communications. "Officer, any sign they've detected us?" "No, Commander. Their orbital defenses aren't on high alert. They don't know we're here. Russell nodded. Good. Let's keep it that way as long as possible. All ships, maintain stealth approach. Follow the plan. The 12 Earth ships moved slowly toward the planet using minimal power to avoid detection. They had studied the Vex defense network data thoroughly and knew exactly where the blind spots were. Meanwhile, in another part of space, Admiral Frank Powell's fleet of 20 ships waited in formation. According to their calculations, the Vex reinforcements would emerge from faster-than-light travel at this exact spot on their way to Nalari. All ships, weapons hot, Powell ordered. The moment they appear, hit them with everything we've got. Don't give them time to raise shields. The minutes ticked by slowly. Then suddenly space rippled as the first Vex warship appeared. It was huge, twice the size of Powell's flagship. Fire, Powell commanded. The Earth fleet unleashed a coordinated barrage. The first Vex ship, caught completely by surprise, exploded before it could raise its shields. As more Vex ships emerged, they found themselves under immediate attack. Keep firing, Powell ordered. Don't let them regroup. Back at the Nalari system, Captain Jack Miller watched the tactical display on the Vindication's bridge. His reduced fleet of 15 ships had been playing cat and mouse with the remaining Vex vessels for hours, protecting the refugee centers on the surface. Sir, Lieutenant Greg Martinez reported. Long-range sensors are detecting new energy signatures. The Vex reinforcements have been delayed, but some got past Admiral Powell. 5 ships approaching fast. Miller frowned. Where's Lieutenant Kelly? Now? Still on the surface, sir, coordinating evacuations. Miller thought quickly. Contact her. Tell her to speed things up. We may not be able to hold off these new ships for long. On the surface of the Nalari homeworld, Kelly received Miller's message as she helped load Nalari civilians into evacuation shuttles. We need to move faster, she told Elder Zareen. More Vex ships are coming. Zareen nodded, her 4 hands gesturing to her people to hurry. What about the sacred archives? They contain our entire history, all our knowledge. Kelly hesitated. The archives weren't part of the evacuation plan, but seeing the desperation in Zareen's eyes, she made a decision. Where are they? She asked. In a vault beneath the central city. The city is destroyed, but the underground vaults may have survived. Kelly checked her weapon. I'll take a team and try to recover them. Keep the evacuation moving. She selected 4 human soldiers and 2 Nalari guides. They took a small, fast shuttle and flew toward the ruins of the central city. As they approached, they could see Vex ground troops still searching through the rubble. We'll have to be quick and quiet, Kelly told her team. Follow me. They landed behind a collapsed building and moved carefully through the ruins. The Nalari guides led them to a hidden entrance that took them underground. The vault is this way, one guide whispered, pointing down a dark tunnel. They moved deeper underground, using small lights to find their way. Eventually, they reached a massive metal door. This is it, the guide said. The archives are inside. It took both Nalari using all 4 of their arms to enter the complex code that opened the vault. Inside, Kelly saw rows of crystal storage, devices each glowing softly with contained data. These hold our entire civilization's knowledge, the guide explained. Art, science, history, everything. Kelly nodded. Let's get them out of here. Take only what's most important. We don't have much time. In orbit around the Vex homeworld, Commander Russell's ships had reached their positions undetected. The element of surprise was about to end. Target their military command centers, Russell ordered. Hit them simultaneously. The Earth ships opened fire. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the planet's surface, targeting the coordinates they had taken from the Vex battle network. On the planet below, explosions bloomed as military installations were destroyed one after another. They're scrambling to respond, Foster reported, monitoring Vex communications. Their defense grid is activating. Evasive maneuvers, Russell ordered as Vex orbital platforms began to fire back. Hit the secondary targets and prepare to jump out. Earth ships darted between the slower Vex defensive fire, continuing to strike at high-value targets. Russell's plan wasn't to occupy the Vex homeworld, just to show them they were vulnerable. Commander, Foster called out, I'm detecting massive fleet movements across Vex space. They're recalling ships to defend their homeworld. Russell smiled grimly. That's what we wanted. Time to go. All ships, prepare to jump. The Earth vessels, having delivered their message, disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving chaos behind them. Admiral Powell's fleet was still engaged in fierce battle with the Vex reinforcements when he received Russell's message. Mission accomplished, she reported. The Vex are recalling ships to defend their homeworld. Powell nodded with satisfaction. Good work, Commander. We've destroyed 12 of their reinforcement vessels here. The rest are breaking off their attack. Looks like they just received recall orders. He watched as the remaining Vex ships changed course and jumped away. All ships, set course back to Nalari. Let's finish this. In the Nalari system, Miller's fleet was struggling against the 5 Vex ships that had broken through. 2 Earth vessels had already been severely damaged. Sir, Martinez reported, the Vex ships are receiving new orders. They're withdrawing. Miller watched in surprise as the Vex vessels broke off their attack and began to move away from the planet. Shall we pursue, sir? Martinez asked. Miller shook his head. No, let them go. Our priority is protecting the Nalari. He opened a channel to the surface. Lieutenant Kelly, what's your status? Kelly's voice came through, sounding breathless. We've recovered the Nalari archives, sir. Heading back to the evacuation area now. Good. The Vex ships are withdrawing. Admiral Powell and Commander Russell's missions were successful. Kelly and her team returned to the refugee center with the crystal archives. As they loaded them onto evacuation shuttles, Elder Zareen approached Kelly. You risked your life to save our knowledge, she said, placing all 4 hands on Kelly's shoulders in a gesture of profound respect. We will never forget what humans have done for us today. Kelly smiled. That's what friends do. They help each other. Above them, the sky was clearing of Vex ships. The first battle between humans and the Vex conglomerate was ending, and the Vex were retreating. 3 days after the battle, Captain Jack Miller stood in the large meeting chamber aboard the Vindication. The room was filled with both humans and Nalari. Admiral Powell and Commander Russell had returned with their fleets, and now the leaders gathered to discuss what would happen next. Elder Zareen sat across from Miller, her 4 hands folded neatly in front of her. Admiral Powell stood at the head of the table. The Vex have pulled back all their forces from Nalari space, Powell reported. Our attack on their homeworld made them realize they're vulnerable. For now, they're focused on rebuilding their defenses. But they will return eventually, Miller said. The Vex don't give up easily. Powell nodded. That's why we need to discuss the future of Nalari protection. Elder Zareen spoke, her musical voice soft but clear. My people are grateful beyond words for what humanity has done. You came when no one else would. You risked your lives for us. She paused. But we cannot ask you to stay and protect us forever. Your people have their own worlds to defend. Lieutenant Susan Kelly, who sat beside Miller, leaned forward. What if we help the Nalari develop their own defense force? All eyes turned to her. The Nalari have always been peaceful, she continued. But that doesn't mean they can't learn to protect themselves. Elder Zareen considered this. We have never been warriors. It is not our nature. You don't need to become warriors, Miller said. Just defenders. There's a difference. Powell stroked his chin thoughtfully. Lieutenant Kelly might be onto something. Earth could provide trainers and some defensive technology. We could establish a permanent base here with a small fleet to help patrol until the Nalari are ready to defend themselves. And, Commander Russell added, we could invite other species who have suffered under the Vex to join this arrangement. Create a mutual defense alliance. The discussion continued for hours. By the end, they had reached an agreement. Earth would help establish the Nalari Defense Initiative. Other species would be invited to join. Together, they would create a network of planets that could stand against the Vex and other threats. 1 week later, Miller walked with Kelly through the temporary settlement that had been established near the ruins of the central city. Nalari were beginning to rebuild, with humans working alongside them. The blue-skinned aliens moved gracefully among the construction sites, their 4 arms allowing them to work quickly. "It's amazing how fast they're rebuilding," Kelly said. Miller nodded. "They're resilient people, and they're learning quickly." They stopped to watch a group of Nalari practicing with earth weapons under the guidance of human instructors. The aliens were awkward at first, but determined. "Do you think they'll be able to defend themselves eventually?" Kelly asked. "Yes," Miller said without hesitation. "They're not built for fighting like we are, but they're smart and adaptable. They'll find their own way to be strong." They continued walking until they reached a small hill overlooking the settlement. From here, they could see the Vindication and other Earth ships in orbit, visible as bright points of light against the darkening sky. "Admiral Powell says we'll be stationed here for at least a year," Miller told Kelly. "After that, a smaller force will remain while the Nalari continue building their defense fleet." "I've requested to stay with that force," Kelly said. "I want to see this through." Miller smiled. "I thought you might. The Admiral approved your request this morning." Kelly looked surprised, then pleased. "Thank you, sir." "Don't thank me, you earned it. The Nalari trust you, especially after you saved their archives." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the activity below. "The Vex Supreme Commander sent a message today," Miller said eventually. "Apparently they want to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth." Kelly raised her eyebrows. "They want to talk now, after everything they did?" "That's what happens when bullies get punched in the nose. Suddenly they want to be friends." Miller shook his head. "Admiral Powell told them we'll talk, but only if they agree to recognize the independence of all the worlds they've tried to conquer, including Nalari." "Will they agree to that?" "Probably not right away, but they know we can hit them at home now. That changes everything for them." As the sun set, more lights appeared in the settlement below. Nalari used bioluminescent lamps that gave off a soft, blue glow. The effect was beautiful, like stars had fallen to the ground. The next morning, a ceremony was held in the central plaza of the new settlement. Humans and Nalari gathered together as Elder Zareen and Admiral Powell signed the formal agreement establishing the Nalari Defense Initiative. "Today marks a new beginning," Zareen said, addressing the crowd. "For generations, the Nalari have lived in peace, believing that staying neutral would protect us. We were wrong. When danger came, we were not ready." She looked at the humans standing nearby. "But then Earth answered our call. Humans, beings from a world so different from ours that many call it a death world, came to our aid. They showed us that true strength lies not just in weapons, but in the will to stand up for others." Admiral Powell stepped forward. "And the Nalari showed humanity that we have friends among the stars, that the traits that evolved on our harsh world, our strength, our speed, our determination, can be used to protect, not just to survive." He turned to face the Earth crews. "Let everyone in this galaxy know. Attack one of us and you attack all of us." The crowd cheered, human and Nalari voices blending together. Later that day, Miller sat in his quarters on the Vindication, writing his official report. His door chimed. "Enter," he called. Lieutenant Greg Martinez walked in holding a data pad. "Sir, you should see this. We're getting messages from across the galaxy. Other species, some we've never even contacted before, asking about the Nalari Defense Initiative. They want to join." Miller took the pad and scrolled through the messages. There were dozens, from worlds both near and far. "It seems we've started something bigger than we intended," he said. Martinez nodded. "Yes, sir." "The Vex aren't going to like this." "No," Miller agreed. "They won't." He looked out his viewport at the stars beyond. Humanity had come to space thinking they would be alone. Deathworlders too different to find a place among the older, peaceful species. Instead, they had found their purpose. When the distress call had reached Earth, humanity had moved without mercy against those who threatened the innocent. And now, across the galaxy, other worlds were looking to the humans, not with fear, but with hope. The Deathworlders had become protectors, and the galaxy would never be the same.